Hello, my name is David Test and I'm a professor here at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and I'm here today to talk to you about Circles, a new way of doing interagency collaboration. Circles is predicated on a conceptual model that involves four parts. The first part involves collaboration theory and self-determination theory. The collaboration theory says that the whole is better than the sum of its parts, and self-determination theory says that when students and people are involved in setting the course for their actions in their lives, they do better. So those are the two theories that Circles is based on. And then if you think about that, if you have collaboration and self-determination, you should have increased student involvement and increased student satisfaction. That should lead to better in-school outcomes and satisfaction by students, and then eventually the hope is that the student would have better post-school outcomes. So who is Circles for? Primarily it's for any student with a disability, but mostly it's for students who need additional supports and support for more than one agency when they leave. So when we talk to schools about what agencies and what kids should be involved, it's any agency and it's any kid who's going to probably need more than one service when they get out of school. You can think of this as the students that keep you up at night. Those students that you worry about who are going to need extra supports, you're just not sure that they're going to get those supports. So those are the students that are going to need more than one adult service agency, and students that keep you up at night in terms of what agencies they're going to be connected to and how they're going to be successful when they leave school. Circles is made up of three teams: the community level team, the school level team, and the student level team, or as most people call it, the IEP team. The community level team is made up of the executive directors of the different agencies as well as the school system, and then it's also important to bring business leaders into the community level team. In some communities, this team already exists. However, it may deal with issues from birth to adulthood, in which case maybe you want to do a subcommittee of that team. If not, just getting the agencies together, the executive directors together, to talk about the possibility of doing a community level team and Circles with the other two teams is a good way to start. Once at your meeting, you should have the executive directors there, and they're going to be the folks that can help make policy or change policy. They can also deal with funding issues, that if you need to braid or blend funds, they can be the people that do that. The community level team meets 2 to 4 times a year, and they deal with issues that may have arisen from the school level team, from the folks where direct services are being provided. And they also get reports back from the school level team in terms of what connections are being made. So the community level team is where it starts, and once those community level executive directors buy in to the Circles model, then one of their big first tasks is to go ahead and appoint people from their agencies that will come to the school level teams. Sometimes in smaller communities, the executive director is also a direct service provider, and so they'll be on both the community level team and the school level team. But that doesn't happen all the time, but if it does, that's not a problem. So the community level team sets the stage for the school level team to happen. The second team is the school level team. And this is made up of the direct service providers from the different agencies, as well as the student's teacher and a transition coordinator if a school system would have one. The purpose of this group is to make the connections between the agencies and the students and their families. These meetings are held monthly, and they can be held more than monthly, but typically they're monthly. It depends on the number of students you have to bring to these meetings. And the meetings are held in different places. In most places, they would probably be at a high school. But in bigger school systems with multiple high schools, they might do a central location. In some instances, it's done at the community college. In some instances, it's done at the Board of Education. But it's up to the different school systems to decide where to hold the meetings. At the meetings, the students start the meeting by presenting a PowerPoint, or in some cases a Voki or an Animoto if they're using Web 2.0 tools. But basically the purpose of the presentation is to talk about the students' strengths, their interests, and their post-school goals so that the service providers know what possible supports they're going to need when they exit high school, whether they're going on to post-secondary education or post-secondary education or employment. So once the presentation is made, the student will sit down at the table with the group, and the group will talk about the different services that they can provide. The VR counselor will talk about their services, the DD counselor will talk about their services, there may be some group home people there may be some business people there, and they'll talk about the possible services that they can provide for that student and their family. They will also give them information and set up appointments for probably intake and determine eligibility at a later point. So when the student and their family leaves, they'll have a notebook or a folder with information about each agency, a time to go for an appointment, and they've made the personal connection. At the beginning of each school level team meeting from then on, there'll be a review to make sure that families and students have followed up with the appointments that were made. And if the appointments were made, that's great. If the appointments were not made, they figure out different ways of making sure that they reconnect with that family. The third team in circles is the school level team or the IEP team. And since many people know what an IEP team is, I don't really want to talk about that at this point. But what I want to talk about is how it fits in to the other circles. And really it's the school level team and the student level team that coordinate. The information that I just talked about that is given to the student and their family is also brought back to the IEP team meeting. And so that information in terms of what different agencies have agreed to do can be put in to the IEP team in terms of transition services. Otherwise, the IEP team just does what they usually do. And since the information has come from the school level team about what the agencies are going to be doing, those agency personnel don't have to come to the IEP meeting, which has been a major stumbling block in terms of getting those people to the IEP team meetings on a consistent basis. And this solves that problem because they've agreed to do it at the school level team meeting. That information is then brought back to the IEP team meeting and put in there. So if nothing changes between the school level and the IEP team meeting, there's really no reason for that person, that agency, to need to be at the IEP team meeting. And that seems to solve a lot of issues in terms of getting the agency people and that information into the IEP. So, does circles work? Well, For the last 4 years, with the help of a grant from the Institute for Education Sciences, we've been looking at circles. It's been a big randomized control study with business as usual schools and circle schools. And we've found that in terms of student outcomes, students are much more active in their IEP meeting after going through a school level meeting. They are much more active and much more active participants in their IEP meetings. And in addition, their level of satisfaction is very high. 92% of them agreed that they have been involved in preparing themselves for post-secondary employment or education. Second, parent outcomes have been good in terms of satisfaction. And this is some of the information that has blown us away, because I don't think I've ever seen parent satisfaction scores as high as some of the ones we've gotten through the Circles grant. In fact, 100% of the parents that we surveyed strongly agreed that they have had an active role in the process of the transition planning process for their son or their daughter, and 100% understood their child's needs and goals. These are pretty impressive outcomes in terms of parent satisfaction. The final set of data that we've been collecting are around the satisfaction of community agencies and schools. And the interagency collaboration, the satisfaction surveys say that the interagency collaboration between schools and agencies has increased to a high level, and that the agencies are satisfied that the interagency collaboration that they have during the community and school level teams has actually improved their processes and allowed them to do better, provide better supports and services to kids once they leave schools. Finally, we've gathered some what's called social network analysis data, and those are showing that the agencies that come to the meetings feel that they have a lot better interagency collaboration with the school system now that they've been part of Circles for a while. Finally, they do see a need for getting more agencies and businesses involved, and that's a community-specific thing in terms of as you're building your teams, your community level and school level teams, it's important to try to get as many people from the community agencies and the business community to your teams.